The sky so far, but I can't lose it.
Sim racers from around the globe, honoring a revolutionary era of open-wheel racing. With a beast not easily tamed, roaring around legendary circuits at breakneck speed. When engineers and drivers push boundaries, sometimes too far. When heroes muscled roaring beast wheel to wheel around the hallowed grounds. A time when the only driver aids were his 2 feet. Perfect combination of man, machine, and speed. Experience the competition and the glory of the early 80s IndyCar action. The Lionheart Retro Series, presented by SimXperience, starts now.
Fresh off a career-best 7th place finish in the 2021 Indianapolis 500, real-world IndyCar driver Sage Karam looks to continue his domination of the Lionheart Retro Series in 2021. Last time in Phillip Island, Karam controlled the field to return to HyperX victory lane, but the cars have made the trip back stateside after the trip to the land down under, and can anyone stop Sage Karam building another winning streak in the -273 Grand Prix of Mid-Ohio, presented by Buttkicker. Hello and welcome back to racespottv and coverage of the Lionheart Retro Series, presented by SimXperience. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, and along for today's action is Dylan Coyle. Timing 71 brings you live timing and scoring. You can follow them for the best in real and virtual motorsports we have TV cameras brought to us by Istvan Ballo and TrackCams22.com with additional car cameras designed by RaceSpott's own Tyler Maxson. Let's dive straight then into our HyperX pre-race show because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows that we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com and don't forget to use the promo code Lionheart15, that's LIONHRT15 for 15% off all orders. Dylan, we are now officially done with a third of our 18-round season, and the Lotus 79s return to Mid-Ohio for the first time in 3 years. And if you ask me, just surviving today will likely return drivers a good finish here in round 7 of this championship.
Well, Arjuna, we always talk about the ups and downs of a driver's season. How about the ups and downs of a driver's racetrack? That is Mid-Ohio, the valleys, the peaks. It is such a challenging track for all of these drivers to come and attempt to master. You can't master it. It will bite you if you try to. You can only just cope with what you're given.
And we were talking just before we came on air, Dylan, about what corner is going to be the most difficult. I think we're pretty much in unison that Thunder Valley, turn 9, and we'll take a look at that in just a little bit. But let's talk about the schedule very quickly now, Dylan, because the early part of the season is done, and we now work in towards our second Triple Crown of the season. And, well, what better place to go to right as we close off the month of May than the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? The Indy 250 always delivers action, and I'm really thinking we might see another 3-wide finish this time when we visit the Brickyard.
I love how we're already talking about the 3-way finish. Why not 4? Why not 4-side? Let's make it 4 at Indy, because that track is just so synonymous with beautiful oval racing with open wheel cars. Obviously, the real world Indy 500 just happened, which we were also talking about as we see all the drivers go around the track. We have qualifying starting right now, or starting in a little bit, I should say. We were talking about Sage Karam. He really did very well and understated 7th place. An understated one is what I want to say.
And under the radar as well, but we'll see how that kind of develops now through the rest of the season. Already talked that maybe we'll see him back in action throughout the course of this season. Let's take a look then and work through our pre-race show at the driver's standings presented by Sim Experience. Karam does lead, but it is closer than one might think given that he's won 4 of 6 races so far this season. Interestingly here, Dylan, Matt Taylor, he had a bit of a rough time out last time at Phillip Island. He was second going into that round, now sits in 6th, and he'll have a lot of work to do to try and climb up back to the top of the heap.
I have no doubt from what we've seen from him in this early goings of the season, he's going to be back up top fighting for this championship. A lot of it will depend on how Sage Karam is able to kind of compete, how many times he's able to get behind the wheel of the virtual Lotus 79 car. But you know what? We've got a great championship battle on our hands. Look how close everyone is in this field. The top 6, they're separated only by 36 points, Arjuna.
Oh, it's fantastic. I'm looking forward to this. Let's work our way, though, over to the rookie standings presented by Buttkicker. Taylor now only enjoys about a 40-point advantage over Alex Gouillon, who we are expecting to be strong. The Lavoie Motorsports team always are a strong contender on the road courses. Nick de Groot in 3rd with Jean-Francois Mad in 4th. Some big names here, Dylan. Looking forward to seeing how these drivers develop over the course of this season.
Yeah, and you know what? Matt Taylor, he is the guy that we're seeing from the rookie class competing for the championship. But look how consistently strong all the rookies in the top 10 are. It's been a great rookie field this season, Season 5 of the Lionheart Retro Series. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to be able to do in this qualifying session.
And so qualifying has just started, but let's keep working our way through some of these championships. This is the team championship presented by HyperX and Graphics LC Motorsports. They only have about a 19-point advantage over Raven Motorsports Silver, and unlike, Dylan, the other 2 championships under the Lionheart umbrella, this one is really close, not just for 1st and 2nd, but almost 1st through 7th positions.
Yeah, it's extremely close, and again, that's been because of, I guess you could say, the parity that everyone has been kind of racing with, dealing with in the early part of the season. And we've seen different types of tracks come into play, different driver strengths come into play. So it's not a surprise that we're seeing this as such a tight battle.
Let's talk about the series details presented by -273, the premier name in karting gloves. Their industry-leading gloves are super lightweight and durable, made of a breathable poly spandex. Whether you're a kart or a sim racer, -273 gives you the control to reach victory lane. For more information on -273's full line of gloves and apparel, visit -273.biz, and don't forget to use the promo code -273LHRS15 for 15% off all orders. One Triple Crown done, one more to go here in the month of June, and that will leave the wait all the way in December until Auto Club in our season finale, Dylan. But of course, at a road course like this, a custom fixed setup is going to be crucial when it comes to cash and prizes, almost totaling $7,000.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? It's beautiful having all the cars racing as well as they are doing right now. And I think that's partially due to not only driver skill, but the setups that currently are at each track. You know what? It's so important to get a good setup, isn't it, Arjun? I'll tell you what. The setup does not make the driver. The driver makes the setup work well for them. But you have to have both to have a really good run.
And let's talk a little bit about this race in particular. The third trip to Mid-Ohio in 5 seasons of competition. It's been a couple of years, and debuted in the inaugural season, returned for season 2 when Adam Blocker, king of the Lionheart IndyCar Series, took victory here in the Lotus 79. It's a flowing, technical track that demands constant focus from the drivers as you go up and down here at Mid-Ohio. And interestingly here, Dylan, we were talking about this as well before we just came on air. A projected fuel window of 27 to 28 laps with a 56-lap race. We may be looking at a one-stop here to the end.
We may be looking at that. You know, we were also talking about the temperature on track. At least in Fahrenheit, it's 114 degrees. That is scorching. The tires, if they are pushing it, will be melting off. Does that mean they lift the throttle more? Does that mean they go for it and maybe go with a tire swap at the midway point? Or maybe something that we don't necessarily, you know, recommend at this current moment? Maybe. But it's going to be interesting to see how the tire strategy all works out. And the fuel, obviously.
And of course, let's talk then about this track, Dylan, and not talk about strategy. Let's just talk about the attrition and getting to the end. It's a 13-corner track, just over 2 miles in length, and with 56 laps, it's going to be Thunder Valley. You see it just at the top right of the screen. As you come down the straight into the penultimate couple of corners, that is where the track falls away from you, not just below you, but off camber as well. It's going to be difficult to get all 500 horsepower down here in the Lotus 79.
I mean, you're basically not going to be smashing the throttle unless you're coming right out of the keyhole or going right into it. You just can't at this track. There's too many ebbs and flows that you've got to deal with, and with all of the horsepower in the Lotus 79, you're going to have to be really, really careful not to have a lead foot in this race.
Well, and foot to the floor, usually the message that when you talk to a young driver, what do they want to do? Not necessarily your goal and your path to success here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Circuit. Let's take a look then at the qualifying times. Half the time is done. 5 minutes are left. It's Michael O'Brien on provisional pole position. A 1:13.371. But I tell you what, we are going to ride on board with Sage Karam here. He is the man to beat. He didn't qualify when we went to Phillip Island for the HyperX Grand Prix there. Had to work his way from the back of the field. It was difficult, and slipping and sliding his way through the final corner, building up tire temperature. Now on, I believe, his 3rd timed lap. No lap time actually entered from Karam, there. He goes up into 6th position with a 1:13.780, 4/10 off the pace, down in toward the crucial keyhole section, braking just at the left-hand side, and Karam gets that car thrown into the apex so he can roll onto the power as progressively as he can down this back straightaway. And that one opportunity you might have to get into the draft and maybe look to the inside as we work our way down into turn 4, and the move in towards China Beach. You can hear Karam stalling out as he breaks down left-hand side 200 meters, almost clips the curve on the inside, and once more on the anchors as he comes over the crest at turn number 5. Left-hand side, he sets up to enter into the S's section. Your entry here is crucial to determine your line in through 7 and down through 8 and setting up 9. This is Thunder Valley. This is where you need to be careful. Look at Karam, how tentative he is as he goes to the left-hand side of the track and into the penultimate couple of corners. Slight dab on the brakes and very patient here not to run wide into the grass, and now once more in through the final corner at the carousel. Karam gets that car down to the apex very nicely. What is the lap time going to be? It's not looked too untidy. A 1:13.365. He is 7 thousandths of a second off pole position here, Dylan.
Wow, well, that was almost as perfect of a lap at Mid-Ohio that you could possibly have. He probably left a few inches from the apex multiple times, just like it looks like he's doing right here. He kind of diamonds it in the keyhole, potentially getting a lot more speed going down this straightaway, but it is so important to get your braking zones right, because if you don't, you're not going to get a nice entry into the apex. You almost want to push it back, build back everything, and then hit the throttle as hard as you can safely. It's just really difficult to do at this track.
And thanks to our wonderful partners at ATVO that not only do our graphics software, but some of the timing that we use to produce the broadcast as well, I'm getting a pace indication from Sage Karam. It was 0.6 faster coming down in through turn 4, but as he comes in through Thunder Valley and as Richie Hearn goes up into 7th position, Sage Karam projected 0.3 quicker on this final qualifying attempt. Into the final corner he will come, and we'll watch to see if Karam will start from pole position here today. Not a race which has seen too many lead changes. It's a 1:13.463. He loses it in the final sector. Michael O'Brien on provisional pole position, Dylan.
Wow, Michael O'Brien is 7 thousandths of a second up in provisional pole right now. Looking who is still out there taking their laps. Matt Taylor, he is done. He is going to be in provisional 3rd for the time being, and that's going to be huge for his championship aspirations.
And he needs a good run here. It was a bit of chaos at Phillip Island, if we're being completely honest, Dylan. I mean, you think about the first lap down into, I believe it was Honda, the first of the right-hand hairpins, and then it was dramatic. Richie Hearn leading. Oh, it was such heartbreak for him not, I think, to be there at the front come the end of the race.
Yeah, and he really did put himself in a situation where a podium was easily attainable, but you have to be consistent for the entirety of the run. I think it's going to come for Richie. It just wasn't meant to be at Phillip Island.
It will come indeed, and looking forward to seeing how the former IndyCar driver develops. We still got 60 seconds left, and this is David Sirois in the 99 for Lavoie Motorsports. We did say they were going to be strong. Let's see what the lap time's going to be for the 99 car, the only car actually left out there on the track. Doesn't look like it's fast. Indeed, he's going to practice a pit entry. That's going to be crucial as well, Dylan. You get one opportunity to come down onto pit road. It's going to be crucial. You don't make a mistake, and you time it as well to get either the perfect under or overcut.
Yeah, it's a really difficult pit entry that you'll commonly see guys mess up, and it's really easy to do so if you're not paying full attention the entire time. I think that's another thing, Arjuna, the mind games. Just making sure your mind is not fatigued by the end of this race. It's going to be physically and mentally taxing to these drivers.
So moments away from kicking off the second third of our 18-round season. This is going to be a good one. 56 laps on the agenda, 125 miles from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Let's go trackside then as qualifying comes to a close to take a look at our starting grid here in round 7 of the Lionheart Retro Series. So here is your Buttkicker starting grid. Michael O'Brien in the Avatar Auto Racing 45, a 1:13.362 pip. Sage Karam for pole position, 7 thousandths of a second in it between the front row, and Matt Taylor only 200ths behind for 3rd. David Sirois on the outside of row number 2 with Mike Rasmussen and Chris Reagan, 2 championship hopefuls on row number 3. Richie Hearn inside of Ricky Harding on row 4 with Jean-Francois Matt and Aaron Morgan on the edge of the top 10. Morgan is usually strong on the road courses. Let's see what he can do after a disappointing night in the Lionheart IndyCar Series. Chris Staples, Trevor Malone, they'll be on row number 6 with Alex Guyon, Ariel Alanis, row number 7. Series organizers George Enzaldo lines up in 15th position alongside Craig Forsyth with Caleb Benchy and Cody Wenson, row number 9. Paul Jenkins and Chris Fowler teammates on the edge of the top 20 with Tyler Graf and Robert Mikes, row 11. These are all cars not setting qualifying lap times. They'll be hoping to pick their way and survive to the end of this race. Chris Lalini, Adam Young, row number 12, with Gary Corley bringing up the tail of our 25-car field. Relatively small field, Dylan. Let's see just how that shakes up here today.
I'm really curious to see how many guys are going to go for some bold moves, especially throughout the second sector of this track. It's hard to pass here. You really have to set up a move or hope for a mistake around the keyhole section. If not, well, you're going to have some guts.
I think guts is what's required here today. I tell you what, we've got a number of onboards. Let's quickly, I think, take a look at them while we wait for this short pace lap to take place. We've got 2 of these minus 273 onboards. First, it's Ariel Alanis in the 25, as well as Mike Rasmas, second place in the championship coming into this one, celebrating the month of June with the Pride colors as well. The 68 has this minus 273 onboard, minus 273, the premier name in karting gloves. Visit minus273.biz. Trevor Malone has the HyperX on board. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game. We are ready to rock and roll then here from Mid-Ohio. This should be good, and at the front, can anyone stop Sage Karam from storming into HyperX victory lane once more? Michael O'Brien on pole position has something to say, but green flag is out then for the minus 273 Grand Prix of Mid-Ohio presented by Buttkicker, and it's a storming start from both of the cars on the front row. They will go side by side, 3 rows deep down in towards turn number 1, and it's Sage Karam already into the lead of the race. Michael O'Brien looking in his rearview mirrors as Matt Taylor and David Sirois side by side. Look at Chris Reagan trying to go down to the inside as well, but look at this, Dylan, as we come down onto this back straightaway.
Oh man, the draft. Look at all of the left side tires getting into the grass right off of that corner. We're going to see the draft come into play very hard right here. Matt Taylor trying to go on the outside. Doesn't have any draft to work with. Sage Karam still in front. Michael O'Brien in second, but a whole hoist of cars just trying to jockey for position.
Over the crest of the hill, it's already 3/10, and Sage Karam doesn't want to have to fight too much with some of these other cars. Look at Reagan, though, as Morgan tries to get a couple more positions. He was already 3 on the day to the inside of Mike Rasmas. That's a bold move, and the 48 car that has looked oh so strong has a bit of a wobble, holds on to it, and somehow gets through it as well there.
Oh, man, that was scary. He gets hit. Oh, no. Aaron Morgan, he's off into the grass, does not hit the tire barriers. I wonder how much damage is in that car.
Well, to conclude then, a frenetic lap number 1, only 1 casualty. It is the 48 car, but Sage Karam clear of Michael O'Brien by 0.8 of a second with David Sirois up into the podium positions. Matt Taylor in 4th with Chris Reagan rounding out the top 5. Look at them streaking their way down in towards this first corner. Excuse me, Dylan, I also see Caleb Benchy has had a bit of an off as well. So 2 victims there, and I guess we've got a couple of things to go look at on the RaceSpot TV replay machine when we wait for things to calm down here.
Yeah, and I hear that the RaceSpot TV replay machine does see everything. I think we saw that at Phillip Island last week. A little bit less of a hectic start, though, than we had at Phillip Island with that huge crash happening in Honda, literally lap 1. But here's a replay. Looks like we're going to get hits from behind. Looks like, is that into Thunder Valley, Arjuna?
It's very difficult to tell. I think we'll have to spool this one slightly further back, and Benchy is already down on pit road. Gary Corley has followed him, so it's a couple of cars involved, and it's not in towards Thunder Valley just yet. This is in through the S's, and let's take a look at the aerial look brought to us by ATVO, and there's just contact with Ricky Harding from behind, so that explains what happens to Benchy. Then for Aaron Morgan, take a look at this one, Dylan.
Yeah, so this one looks like it's a little bit of net code coming into play, unfortunately. We don't exactly know what each driver was seeing, but you see Morgan gets very loose trying to get onto the throttle through Thunder Valley. Everything looks fine. Yeah, that's oof.
Not the way you want to start your race is Richie Hearn, who's always got sometimes a bit of a dodgy connection here to our virtual racetracks, and now in Mid-Ohio, of course, at least still out there on the track for the time being, running in 7th. So back to the live pictures, and we'll try and sort out everything that's happened. Benji and
Arjuna.
Ooh, what's happened?
Ricky Harden is getting a drive-through penalty. Avoidable contact.
Oh, race control right on the money then, so they are really keeping track of things. Harding almost losing control for good measure as well. Holds on to that one for the time being, but is driving, I think, a little bit frustrated there. He'll have to calm down, serve that drive-through penalty, and refocus on the task at hand. Something's happened to another car as well. I think Chris Lanini is showing as being rather slow on this lap, but he's down in 19th position. 24 cars took to the green flag here, Dylan. 22 still out there and circulating.
It's extremely quick. And by the way, Richie Hearn is trying to ask what number is getting the drive-through penalty because he is car 70, and he was also involved in an incident, while car 7 and Ricky Harden, you know, just Ricky and Richie and 70 and 7. No confusion whatsoever.
Just trying to make sure he's clear and doesn't do the opposite of what race control wants. We're looking then down this back straightaway, and the left-hand side of your screen will bring up the movers and shakers in the opening 4 laps of this race, and you can see, while the opening 6 cars of all either up 1 or down 1. So it looked like a good start then from the outside row, Dylan. Not such a good launch from the cars on the inside.
Yeah, and I do think that if you're on the outside starting here where the finish line, usually when you're having a rolling start here at Mid-Ohio, you'll start right at the in the backstretch, basically, right after the keyhole. They started at the finish line section, right out of the carousel here, and you just get more speed around the outside, especially if you're able to pinch the drivers down to the curb, down to the apex. It's almost an advantage that is very measurable.
And, you know, that's a good point that we didn't really bring up in the pre-show, and something we probably should have talked about more. You're right. When you race here in the real world, you start the timing clock when you cross the start-finish line, but it's cautions all the way until you come down onto this back straightaway out of this keyhole complex. And on the left-hand side of the track, as we ride on board with Chris Reagan, there is a flag stand that pops up just about where you can see that red marker, if I'm not forgetting things. Oh,
Yep.
no, there it is, the Honda. It's right there on the track as well. iRacing doing such a great job of modeling things then, Dylan.
Yes, really, really well done. Well done, iRacing. Well done, Baku.
So many great things coming to the iRacing service. We have the street circuit at Chicago that was released after debuting on national television on Fox Sports 1. Next week, we've got the Porsche 911 GT3R that was debuted today on iRacing Live. As well, the Formula V car. I'm hearing rumors that we might be getting a new track as well. It's always an exciting time as we head into the new iRacing build time, and we'll follow along with the latest comings and goings there. In terms of action, though, Dylan, we did say it was going to be difficult for cars to get on past, and that's what we're seeing right now. They're settling into the groove, and I think waiting for a mistake to happen, and then we'll see cars trying to pounce.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of mistakes that happen throughout the course of this race, but it's always smart to keep the elbows down, at least for now. At the start of the race, you want to get yourself into a rhythm. You want to see what the pace of everybody around you is. You don't want to be fighting with someone that you're clearly faster or slower than. It just would ruin a good chance at a better finish later in the race, especially if you do get caught up somewhere. But this is going to be a quick race. We were also talking about that before we did go live. We're already on lap 6 of 56. It's going to be one of the faster races over the course of this season.
It will indeed. I think we got something in the racespottv replay machine already queued up here. So let's go take a look at an incident for Adam Young in the 12 car. He's coming into the final corner and straight lines it there in the 12. Not necessarily the way you're meant to take that corner, Dylan. Let's take a look at the onboard look here.
So obviously you can't really see that well over the hill. You make it right, but then you go down, and that's also a bit of a blind corner, more because you can't see where it drops off and swings to the right. So this is where knowing the track, having knowledge of where each corner is, where your corner markers are, it comes into play, and it's so important.
I wonder how much practice each of these guys have been doing for a race like this. It's very different to some of the oval races where practicing here is building up the muscle memory more than anything else, whereas practicing for an oval, especially in a car like this, Dylan, where the characteristics of how the car behaves really do vary over the course of a fuel run as well. It goes from being, stricken, with so much weight, and then it's a rocket ship by the end of the stint. Here,
right.
Not such of the same effect that we've got.
And by the way, the on-track temperature has risen now to 118 degrees Fahrenheit. It is scorching.
48 Celsius for all of you guys using the metric system, and I don't think we need to get into...
My apologies.
Well, no, we shouldn't get into that debate, because let's be honest, Dylan, I live here in the US. I probably should have that set to Imperial for these ones.
Well, I think that it's very good that we're both on, I guess, the same page with different pages, in a sense, where everything is, for you, the metric system, and the Imperial system. For me, hey, we can get all the information out there. It's all the same thing, right? It's just... math.
Hey, global viewership. I mean, that's the great thing about the Lionheart Racing Series. Wonderful new addition as well from our team at ATVO. Shout out to Nick Thiss and Simon Grossman and Kevin Niatola, getting two guys jumbled up into one super coder, I guess. But you'll see on the right-hand side of the screen just how much the gap has extended from Karam in the lead to the 7-car of Ricky Harding, who has served his drive-through penalty and runs in 21st and last on the lead lap. I'm not necessarily sure, as you see a cone going scampering there on that back straightaway, I'm not sure, Dylan, if lap traffic is going to be such a consideration until we get to maybe lap 40 or so, well in to the second stint of the race.
Yeah, well into the second stint, but we also have to wonder what's going to be the right fuel call. Is everyone going to come in over the course of 2 laps? I think so. This is going to be one of your most non-jumbled up fuel races, pit cycles that we'll see over the course of a race this season. I think that's as a move potentially being made by Reagan on Taylor. Does not work there. But I'll tell you what, though, Arjuna, Matt Taylor, he's got to really worry.
Sorry to cut you off, Dylan. Aaron Morgan recovering on his own through Thunder Valley once more. Car is being claimed a victim. Let's go take a look straight away at this. A contender in the championship, just a little bit too wide onto the grass as well. He's fortunate not to take any sort of damage in this one, Dylan.
Yeah, extremely fortunate, but will also lose considerable amounts of time there. As we come back to live pictures, I really want to see the map to see where he is now compared to where he... Oh, lovely. Look at how much farther back he is now. We were talking about Ricky Harding in the 7 after serving his drive-through. But look at Aaron Morgan. I mean, he's had a couple incidents now in this race. And, Arjuna, is there such a thing for the broadcast curse before a race? Because we were talking about him potentially, or you were more. I'm not going to blame myself here. You were talking. I'm going to do it.
Don't put this one on me. I have an awful track record, especially when it comes to endurance broadcasts of the commentator's curse and trying to praise people and put some good positive vibes out there, and it comes back to bite me in the end of the race. This is a great battle, by the way, between Taylor and Reagan, and this is what Mid-Ohio is all about, applying the pressure and waiting for the mistake to happen as well. You can see the alternate lines that the purple and silver machine is running in the rearview mirrors of Matt Taylor. The gap out front, Dylan, it's not really as blown out as much as one might expect from a season where Sage Karam has dominated on the road courses. Michael O'Brien is keeping him honest, only 1.7 seconds back.
So I'll add on top of that, Sage Karam throughout practice and even during his preparations to go on his quick lap in qualifying, he's not the most, I should say, consistently fast driver necessarily. He's had a few offs, and I think that's also because he's trying to put the quickest lap possible every single time, that you almost you lose a little bit of your caution when you're trying to put those laps down. So there's still an opportunity that Karam could make a mistake in this race. I know we're talking about the Sage Karam here in this Lionheart Retro Series, but in practice, he was prone to mistakes, but that is the place that you want to be prone to mistakes.
I mean, it's a temperamental car, to say the very least, Lotus 79. I said 500 horsepower, not strictly true. It's a little bit less at about 460, 470 if I'm remembering
Doesn't
correctly.
feel it.
But that's the thing, the power to weight ratio, it's almost 1-to-1. I think 520, 550 kilograms. So it really is a rocket ship in a straight line as well. And you really can throw the car through the corner. And that's what we saw at Phillip Island, and a number of drivers getting caught out there. Looking at George Anzaldo defending from Paul Jenkins from behind. Jenkins jinx to the inside. Got myself a little bit tongue twisted there. Nothing doing for the time being. And I tell you what, let's talk about our sim experience driver profile. That is the 35 of Paul Jenkins. 43 retro starts with 11 top 10s to his name. He goes back a long way in this championship, Dylan, all the way to season 2. And as we head through the month of June, look out for Jenkins, second in Indianapolis a couple of years ago. What can he do at the Brickyard?
You know what? I think he's going to be, again, one of the drivers that has a great shot of winning. We've seen some very strong runs from Paul Jenkins throughout the history of the series. Maybe hasn't had the strongest of seasons so far, but when you're at Indy, a lot of this is just experience. You know what to do, and with it being a very short Indy race, instead of it being the Indy 500, it's the Indy 250, we're going to see a lot more aggression happening early. And I think he's built for that.
And we'll see how it goes. He's had some torrid luck in the Speedway Series. Maybe as we head to Indy, 250 I think is a better race distance for these drivers to just get themselves to the end, and then the all-out
for me.
That's true as well. It's sometimes a late night, but an all-out sprint, an all-out brawl to the end, and 3 wide, 4 wide, that's been the norm, and you can join us at the end of June for the next round of the Lionheart Retro Series. Let's turn the attention back towards this battle for second through on 6th. And you know what, Dylan? They have about 5 cars stacked up behind O'Brien right now, separated by under 2 seconds. This is a very close train of cars. Clearly, dirty air is not a big factor here today.
I do wonder if O'Brien is holding anybody up right now, and with the gap between Sage and Michael right now, it's only around just under 2 seconds. So, you know, this is it's not a substantial lead. Could one of these guys potentially be faster than Karam? I think we'll find out through the rest of this race. And also, I meant it would be better for me because I'd probably wreck out right around lap 100, not because of the time zone issues. I'm not the best driver.
Hey, don't say that. You're now a real sim racing winner on a Monday night here.
I forgot.
I had to throw that one in there. Lots of action here on RaceSpot.tv, and some of our commentators know how to drive as well. I always have to throw it in there when we're talking about it. Did you know RaceSpot.tv founder Hugo Luis, or co-founder I should say, one of 3 open-wheel iRacing world champions. So you never know what some of the commentators can do. And
subscribe to the channel for Hugo to get back behind the wheel, and we'll see what he's able to do. That is not passed by Hugo. I'm just saying to pressure Hugo.
We need to get the peer pressure campaign and maybe get Philip Stan at Coanda Simsport to put some pressure on Hugo Luis. But Hugo Luis, also a founding member of Coanda Simsport, don't necessarily think that's going to work out. So you've got this battle for second through 6th for the time being. Richie Hearn, with his slight internet issues, has fallen off about 1.8 seconds, but 3.2 seconds in front of Jean-Francois Matt for 8th. So looking pretty good for Richie Hearn, who was on a stellar run. I mean, heartbreak last time out for him at Phillip Island. This is a lot steadier, and you know what? If he can get this one into the top 5 once more, he's going to be looking quite good in these championship standings.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I think that a lot of drivers have the potential, not just somebody like Richie Hearn, but a lot of drivers in this series have an opportunity to get into at least the top 5, if not potentially battling for a championship by the time we hit that halfway point. It's just because Karam is going to miss a race here or there, you know, it opens the series up a little bit more, and it's not like he's really missed that many races. He only has 1 fewer race, as we're seeing this battle for 10th happen right now. 1 fewer race than pretty much everybody else. So it's it's a unique series in the sense that a lot of drivers can come away with very high regards by the time the season ends.
look at how much Trevor Malone is slinging that car over the crest of the hill, not just through Thunder Valley, but over the S's as well. That car, I wonder what his tires are doing in this scorching track temperature, but on board with Guyon, we ride through the final corner. Loving the amount of battles that we've got, and it's those classic ones, just pressure, pressure, pressure. See what you can do, and maybe as well, we have touched on it very slightly, Dylan, save some fuel and maybe try something different in the pit stop window. We are not sure if drivers will be taking tires here today. That might be something that means the pit stops are a little bit shorter than people might be thinking when they watch these Lotus 79s. You know, the older style of pit stops is not as modern as the 2-second stops we see in Formula 1 today. That would be a lot longer to change 4 tires.
You know, we might see some different strategies here. I would not be shocked, especially with how abrasive this track surface definitely is at Mid-Ohio. I also want to bring up, look at the gap between Karam and O'Brien. It has opened up a little bit more, so I think we can definitely say that Michael O'Brien right now is struggling to keep pace with the leader, and could he potentially be holding up anybody? I don't think by dirty air. What I do think, though, is by just being comfortable around these very flowy corners, and you don't really need to have dirty air hold up a driver behind. You just need to have a very wide car.
And maybe the widest Lotus 79 for the time being, but you know what, for Sirra, podium position would be stellar here today. We're working lap 16, so almost halfway through. In fact, we are well past the halfway point in the fuel window, so be interesting to see how the car dynamics have changed. Maybe we'll talk to the drivers in our post-race coverage to understand that, but 2.6 seconds is now the advantage Karam enjoys, and what a month of May he's had to go through. I mean, it started off quite, I think, on top. He was saying the car was really looking strong for him in practice, Dylan, but then when it came to qualifying, just wasn't able to find the speed, had to go through that last row qualifying process on Sunday. Managed to top that one, to be honest, with a clutch run to put him into 30th position to start that race, and a career best finish of 7th that, like you said at the start of the show, has maybe slightly gone under the radar given history being made this past weekend.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes when you're, it's like a playoff series in the prototypical ball and stick sports, or puck and stick sports, if you will, where if you almost have a longer layoff, sometimes you can attribute the coming failures in a playoff series to having so much time off without too much pressure. He had to deal with the pressure later than pretty much everybody else in the field by virtue of qualifying in the last row, qualifying on that Sunday. And you know what? He kept that momentum up throughout the entirety of the rest of the week, and that 7th place finish, I mean, you don't get there if you don't have an immense amount of skill. So for everyone right now to be just a few seconds behind him in this little train that we're seeing form, that's extremely impressive. And by the way, Michael O'Brien, he's struggling right now.
He's really struggling. I mean, he was 3/10 off the pace the last time. I have a feeling this one's going to be even further off the pace as he's been slipping and sliding his way. Not the optimal entry in towards Thunder Valley. Be 17 laps complete at the line. Karam's lead now extended above 3 seconds. He's managing this race very well. Might go lights to flag here. I mean, it's a race that only 3 drivers have ever led laps in, only 2 iterations in prior years. None of those drivers are in active competition in the Lionheart Retro Series anymore, so we will have, for the first time, a new race winner. Ricky Harding, after a drive-through penalty, has had some sort of issue as well, Dylan. Let's go take a look at the RaceSpot.tv replay machine.
Well, incidents just keep piling up for some of these drivers in this race, and Ricky Hardin is no stranger to having the incidents in this race. This one, fortunately for him, it was not too detrimental to his race session. Just gets a little bit loose, holds it, drifts it. Ooh, that's a little bit of a scary sight. He's able to manage it and get back on track. Is able to, deal with it pretty well given the circumstances where it occurred in this race.
And we'll jump back to Harding in the live picture. He's got Morgan, who scampered in front of him. Morgan on his own recovery drive in 18th position right now. So let's see where the 48 car can go from here. Some contact early on in this one, a side-by-side behind him with Robert Mikes. And Ricky Harding trying to go around the outside, and that's bowled from the 7. and gets that one slowed down just in the nick of time to get the move done as well. Back out front, Chris Reagan is sliding that car around, but behind him, Mike Razmas in the 68 car, Dylan, has fallen off these guys by almost 0.7 of a second.
Yeah, Mike Razmas, he's one of the guys that we're seeing in this championship battle. He's right up there with Sage Karam, but has not gotten a win on the season. It's just been about consistency for him. And, you know, right now being in 6th place, he's down 1 position. Chris Reagan took it from him at the start of this race. Oh, no! Malone, I don't think he has damage, though.
I think it's with Alex Guyon as well, so let's go and see if we can pick up through turn number 1 what's happened to the teal number 34 car. You can see it's the 08 of Guyon indeed, who jinks to the inside, just thinks about the move, forces his nose, and I wonder if he gets up onto the inside curb as well. We'll have to take one more look from, I believe, the aerial angle to get a better look at this one, Dylan.
Yeah, I do wonder if it was a bit too much of a squeeze. Didn't know he was there. Goes under the Cooper Tires bridge, and actually, he gave him the space. You said that was Guyon, correct? It looks like Guyon was maybe the one at fault here.
It's really hard to tell because you got that Cooper bridge in just the worst position possible, and indeed, you don't actually see the 08 slide to, get to rather the inside of the curb, which is where you do want to be, as close as you can get without touching it. So for Trevor Malone, he's not going to be too thrilled with that one. And as we rejoin the live picture, he's 3.3 seconds behind that group of cars that Guyon is in. Oh no, for Chris Lanini, there's been another issue, and I think this is coming down out of turn number 5 and in towards the S's section. So straight back, I guess, we will go, Dylan, to the RaceSpot TV machine.
Well, the RaceSpot TV machine sees all coming around one of the sweeping corners of the S's here, and just loses it coming down the hill. It's, I mean, what else can you do there? You get a little bit too much in the throttle, the car gets lighter, and you go for a little bit of a spin. No harm, no foul, loses a few seconds and is back on his horse. By the way, I think this means we're going to see a lot of tires being taken.
I wouldn't be surprised as Guyon gets past Craig Forsyth now in the 53. Forsyth, is he going to try and fight this one back? When the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship came here just a couple of weeks ago, if I'm remembering correctly, it was some insane action, too wide, down out of the S's and in towards this wonderful section that you have right here. And Chris Fowler lurks in the background trying to take advantage as well. This has been an interesting one, Dylan, and not as many side-by-side battles as you would think, but this is really just a race of attrition and a race of survival at the end of the day.
Yeah, you know, usually if we're watching a race where there's not too many side-by-side battles, it's not necessarily the most exciting. Has this been exhilarating so far? No, but it has been really interesting. We're seeing a lot of pressure being put on some of these drivers here. I mean, just look at this train forming in the viewpoint right now, coming to the keyhole. It's really interesting to see the different lines that drivers take. And like you said, it's all about attrition. You can really ruin your day with one small mistake, maybe a little bit too much throttle, a little bit too little of a turning radius coming down the Thunder Valley. It doesn't matter. It's such a tough track to get right.
I think it's one that all of these drivers are really enjoying, and just like last night, we had a race at the Worldwide Technology Raceway in the Lionheart IndyCar Series. Just one caution on the day. It really just flew on by. We are doing the same here today. Lap 22, almost at the halfway point of this race, and into the one and only pit stop window that we might expect with these warmer track temperatures, especially in a car like this with very minimal driver difference. Like, I'm trying to think of the word automated assistance. You can see the cockpit here is just so bare and old school. You don't get fuel mixers or anything of the kind, Dylan. It's all about lifting and coasting, and when the track temperatures are just that little bit warmer, it's harder to stay in the throttle. You have to be a little bit more tentative. It helps you save just that little bit more fuel.
Yeah, it does help save that little bit more fuel, but I don't know. We don't know exactly what it's going to be. If you can get the lap 28, you might be fine. But if lap 28 is the absolute max that you can go, we might see some drivers struggle to get all the way to the end of each stint because it is split right in half because of a lack of fuel saving. I think there won't be too many problems here. I think it's going to be fairly straightforward. The only question is whether or not to get tires. By the way, that incident that we saw with, I believe it was Trevor Malone and Alex Guillaume, Mark Cohn and the race control team has deemed it no penalty for a racing incident.
There we go. Race control, as always, on top of things as we ride on board with Chris Fowler in the 20 car. 13th position, 7 gained here on the day. One of the biggest movers so far. In fact, he is the biggest in a day where you've got the likes of Morgan and Harding, the big losers. Everyone else has very much struggled to try and find some sort of track position. This pit stop window is really going to be crucial as Fowler tries to find a way past Craig Forsyth here for 12th and 13th position. Out front, I do want to go take a look at that gap once more because David Sirois, who had to retire last time out at Phillip Island, he was looking very strong. Great qualifying there as well. He is all over the back of Michael O'Brien, the pole sitter here.
Yeah, and Matt Taylor is right behind, ready to pounce if there is a mistake from any of these two drivers. You know what? It might be a pretty good position to be the catbird seat. If Michael O'Brien almost gets shoved out of the way by an elbows-out move by Sirois, then it might be Matt Taylor's podium position to take. Chris Reagan is right behind Taylor as well, with Rasmus following closely as well. I mean, this is great. This is a train right there. You see that shot. All of these drivers, they have the speed. They just need to get by. That's really where it comes down to.
And sometimes I get more tense watching this sort of stuff where you know one mistake opens the door for some sort of bonsai move. Really just Christian Horner leg tap kind of vibes right now. Gap out front, 4.2 seconds. Sage Karam well and truly in control of this one, but by no means is he running away with things. It's been consistency rather than all-out pace that has taken him to this advantage. Fastest lap, a 1:13.225. It's only about a tenth of a second faster than some of these cars we're watching right now. And as we come through the S's, Sirois in the 99 is looking full of confidence here.
You know, I'll be very impressed if we do see fast lap times be set in this race consistently. Sage Karam typically likes to do that. I don't think this is necessarily the track to take advantage here. Look at how close this battle is between all of the drivers involved here. Chris Reagan, we're on board with his suspension cam in his right front tire. He is right on the gearbox of Matt Taylor as they come around this sweeping left-hander. Turn 1, that is, before we come into this front stretch. I'd like to call it the front stretch before they get to the keyhole. A little bit of separation, though, Arjuna.
Yeah, no, and I was going to say, just like O'Brien is maybe holding up Sirois, maybe Taylor is holding up Reagan. It's drug Mike Rasmus back into this grouping of cars as well. We are on lap 25, so you might be able to, if you're feeling bold, come down onto pit road one lap early as we get to the halfway point, and side by side here comes Reagan to try and get down in through China Beach, and he gets it done. I don't think Taylor wanted to fight that one too hard. Now looks in his rearview mirrors, Dylan, for Mike Rasmus as well.
Wow, that was as easy as a move that you could possibly make. I agree with you. I don't think he wanted any of that right there, and probably a smart give up by Matt Taylor. Chris Reagan has a lot of space and a lot of room to now try and set a quick lap time to catch up to these podium racers at the moment. But like you said, Mike Rasmus, he is right now in this battle, and he does have a good amount of speed at the moment. He could pass Matt Taylor. It's just about getting into the draft outside of the keyhole.
Aaron Morgan, in the meantime, has gotten not one but 2 positions. First, Paul Jenkins for P17, then George Anzaldo for P16. So while we were watching that side-by-side action, great to see the 48 on his own recovery drive. Once more, we will look at the track map and the developing picture of the race as we enter the pit stop window. And it's difficult now, Dylan, when you look at something like this, maybe the 53 car of Craig Forsyth in that battle with Chris Fowler. It's going to be very difficult for them to come down pit road because they will be right in the clutches of Sage Karam if Sage Karam doesn't come down onto pit road with them.
How much do you want to bet that there might be a little bit of contact between this top group once they do head into the pits if they're going into the same lap?
I don't want to think about that, Dylan. We're good vibes from up here in the commentary booth.
Good vibes. Okay, good vibes. they're going to do very well, and they're going to get in and out without any issues.
Well, you want to know who's doing very well. Last time around, Michael O'Brien was actually quicker than the race leader, and this time around, Sage Karam 4/10 slower. Oh, the pace has changed around here. Michael O'Brien has suddenly found some sort of pace, and you know what? Not looking as pressured as he was before. They are 1.5 seconds of Reagan as well. It's all heating up here midway through this race, and it might not be so easy for Sage Karam if Michael O'Brien, Dylan, has found something midway through the run.
Yeah, I'm trying to look back at his lap to see if there was any large-scale mistake, and can't really find anything. So it might have just been a few hundredths here, a tenth here, that ended up being that big gap changer. It's still a substantial gap, but not one that is going to be a Sage Karam runaway that we're used to.
Take a look quickly at these lap times and you'll see it was O'Brien through 17 and 22 that was really struggling to stay consistently in the 13.4s. He's turned that around here, and now if we take a look at the same lap chart for Sage Karam, you'll see it's almost the reverse picture. You don't get lap 27, which I do as well. That was a little bit slower, and maybe I'm getting myself confused here. We'll wait and see what the lap time is. My timing screen might be getting me a bit confused. At the line, a 1:13.075. He's only gone and done the fastest lap of the race, Dylan.
Well, Michael O'Brien and David Sirah have gone into pit lane. The ones who have not, Sage Karam, Chris Reagan, Matt Taylor, and Mike Rasmus. So we'll see if this undercut is able to get some seconds down and the drivers in front, namely Sage Karam.
Doesn't look like anyone up on the jacks here, so no tires being taken. They come down before the halfway point of the race, so a little bit of fuel saving will be required. Total pit lane time is 27 seconds, and now we will have to wait and see what happens to the cars out front. This is wonderful, Dylan. I am loving the action here in the -273 Grand Prix of Mid-Ohio.
This is unbelievable. We're halfway at this lap, and it's only been around 35 minutes. What a sprint race this is.
And we've only got 35 minutes left to go. Wow, this is even shorter than we predicted. Does the Dreyer and Reinbold driver come down onto pit road? No, he sees someone going slow, so I think he's got enough fuel. He'll extend this one more time as down onto pit lane. That was Cody Wenzen, who's had some sort of an issue the last couple of laps, so I understand the reluctance from Karam to dive down. You know who does come down? Chris Reagan and Mike Rasmus. Matt Taylor stays out there for one more lap.
This is unique. You know, I would be absolutely shocked if they did not come down pit lane this time around, but, I mean, that's a 2-lap undercut. How big of a difference will it be? I mean, I don't necessarily know if it's going to be much because we're not talking about fresh tires here, but it still could have something.
Watch this merge off of pit road, Dylan. It was close between Reagan. Can he get on past Sirah? Oh, does the overcut work out? As side by side out of pit road, in through the keyhole. Sirah slides up the track and holds on to net third position, but here comes the run, and here comes the draft, but tires aren't up to temperature and pressure just yet, Dylan.
No, not at all, but as Sirah comes down to the inside to block, it's going to be Chris Reagan going the outside. They're right in front. It's Michael O'Brien trying to cut them both off. Will it get done? The move down the inside. It's going to be Chris Reagan, who still has to deal with this side-by-side battle, Arjuna.
Inside line, though, through the S's. That was crucial. Karam down onto pit lane. Taylor down onto pit road as well. Track them on the track map in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. We will stick with these cars as they come in towards the penultimate couple of corners. Sage Karam up on the jacks for the one and only time in this race. He extended it all the way to lap 30. He'll be having some very good tires underneath him come the closing stages. Karam rolls. Taylor is yet to roll, though, here in this battle for second, third, and fourth. He's going to lose out on some track position. There goes Matt Taylor. He drops behind Mike Rasmus as well.
I am questioning how much time Karam just gained right there because, oh my goodness, he gained seconds.
Well, you know what probably happened here, Dylan? We're not going to really get the accurate picture on the timing screen because it will measure the time when the driver comes down onto pit road, breaks that line. That means you have to be down on the pit lane speed limit as well. And the same thing as they come down side by side. Wide? Oh, was it 3 wide as well? O'Brien holds on. It's once more side by side between Reagan and Sirwa. Sirwa will hold on, but these guys are scrapping it out hard now that they know that they've lost out on Sage Karam. Reagan side by side through the S's.
How are they not crashing? Oh, this is some great racing right here as we do come down to the carousel. Arjuna, oh, it looked like Sirwa got a little bit of the grass in his right side tires. Chris Reagan gets a little bit loose on the brakes and is going to have to try and get the traction back into the tires as they go past the start-finish line and into turn 1 down to the keyhole. Will there be an attempt? Oh, no. Is that Trevor Malone again?
It is Trevor Malone again, and I think as well an issue for Chris Fowler, but stick on this for now. Oh, I've almost lost my voice because of this. This is incredible, and Matt Taylor has already closed the gap that he had lost out. What I was trying to say before is the timing line isn't going to be accurate. Karam can make up time on pit entry with maximum commitment, and that is what he has done. Here we come down in towards turn number 4 at China Beach. Lavoie Motorsports into second position. Sirwa full of confidence and now looks for his best ever finish here in the Lionheart Retro Series.
No.
Contact between Reagan and O'Brien. They're both around.
Reagan. Oh man, Chris Reagan is probably going to get a penalty here. He got right into the back of Michael O'Brien. O'Brien in second the entire time. And we'll catch the replay right here, Arjuna. Some great hard racing, but I think we all knew that this was inevitable.
It's a shame, and it's just the lightest of contacts. I don't think Reagan knew how slowly O'Brien was going to go through the corner. We'll have to pick this up one more time and jump on board, I think, with the purple and silver number 19. Let's take a look at this one then, Dylan, and it's just a shame. It was coming to blows like you said, but unfortunate for the pole position sitter that now he runs in 7th spot.
Oh, that is so unfortunate right there as we still check out this replay from another angle. O'Brien lets him go on the inside. That's David Sirwa, and I mean that was the right thing to do. Almost got clobbered right there. That was actually Reagan coming, still had his foot on the throttle, and oh my goodness, we've got another replay right here. The 67 going for a little bit of a spin, and that's Cody Wenzen.
So this is even before the pit stop window. We've got a couple of items queued up that I think we're going to get to. This is when Wenzen was actually very slow down onto pit road. This was right before Karam saw Wenzen slow on pit entry, and that's when we saw Karam elect to stay out there for one more lap. So not the easiest of days for Cody Wenzen. I think he's retired the 67 as well. Take a look at this one. This is with Chris Fowler as he tries to make a move on the Lavoie Motorsports 08. Alex Guyon's being involved in some contact here. That's an odd one. We need an aerial look at this one, Dylan.
I wonder if it was a little bit of mechanical looseness. Is that a word? I don't know. But yeah, it just looks like he gets on the throttle, almost gets clobbered in the gearbox, but I don't think there was any contact right here. We see from Forsyth's view. And yeah, no contact. Guyon had nothing to do. That could have been race ending.
That was heart and mouth stuff for a second. And I tell you what, 3 more things I think we need to look at. Oh, that's Malone. Oh, what happened there? We saw Malone sideways, and I think we have the explanation now, Dylan.
Oh my goodness, let's see this again. Hello.
Oh, my word. Okay, so that explains a few things. And I think for Malone, he's had the misfortune of getting involved in something else recently. So the 34, oh, it's a shame with the onboard look that he would have had. It's not been the easiest day with the driver carrying that HyperX camera over the crest at turn number 5 and lost that car very early on. Let's jump back to live pictures. It hasn't been so active between 2nd, 3rd, and 4th since we've been looking at the replays. That's why I indulged just there, Dylan. That extended look at all of the calamity. Now we'll focus back on the action. Sirwa, Rasmus, and Taylor scrapping it out for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
That Michael O'Brien and Chris Reagan incident is a racing deal. Interesting.
Interesting indeed. So race control, like we said, right on top of the action. And so our pole sitter stuck in 7th position, 17 seconds adrift from the race leader. The gap the gap, Dylan, is now up to 9 seconds between Karam and Sirah. Sirah is on the pace, though, and only a couple of tenths off the last time around.
I wonder how big of a deal that overcut was. Or maybe Sage was just like, you know what, I'm just going to come out with a few quick laps right here and make this overcut count. I do wonder.
Well, and if we look at the track map then, working lap 34, so almost towards the 20-lap marker in this race, you can see Karam is coming down in towards the carousel in the final corner. He's got Robert Mikes in front of him for lap traffic, but Trevor Malone is quite a ways down the road, already entering the keyhole section as Karam completes lap 34. And then the gap back to this 99 car is really extended on out. I don't think lap traffic is going to be a factor, Dylan. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, I don't think lap traffic is going to be a major factor whatsoever. It shouldn't be. If it is a factor, then the lap car is doing something wrong.
Fingers crossed then. Let's hope that all things work out nicely. And I say that because here on RaceSpot.tv, it's been an interesting month of May with some lap traffic incidents. So we are hoping for the best. On board with the -273 camera and Mike Rasmas in a podium position and second place in the championship, Dylan. It's been consistent results that have brought him here. More podiums will really make it hard if, like you said, Sage Karam misses more races this season.
We know how badly Sage wants this championship. It's just when real racing duties call to action, you kind of have to go there. And that's going to be to the, I guess, the smile of Mike Rasmas and some of the other drivers in this series. He is racing really well. He's been consistent. He has not put a foot wrong in this race so far.
I mean, if I had a choice between the HyperX Lotus 79 or the AES Indiana Delara IR18, it's a tough choice. But if needs must, give me a call, Dryer and Rybold. I will try and fit my way, all 6'5" of me, into an Indy car. I
still can't believe how tall you are.
Well, we were having this discussion, Dylan, with some of the iRacing IndyCar community, and there's a member of the community that is 6'8". And I was just thinking, can you imagine trying to bundle yourself into an Indy car when you're that tall?
I mean, no, I cannot. I mean, I'm 5'9" on a good day. On a good day. And I think the major issue for me would be the width, not the height. But 6'5", I think you'd be able to squeeze in there.
Oh, okay. I might have to try and give Roger Penske a call then and see if the captain can get me a ride. On board with Matt Taylor as in through the S as we go under the Honda Bridge. What a disappointing run from Phillip Island for him. Lap 1 disaster. Chris Fowler and Matt Taylor both retiring on the spot. Contact in through turn number 4. Didn't even get, I guess, a mile into that event. And second place in the championship going into that one, Dylan. He's still in a comfortable spot, I would say, given the consistent performances we've seen, not just here in the Retro Series, but across of the Lionheart IndyCar Series and the Speedway Series as well. It will be crucial to see if he can maintain his consistency because he's also leading those rookie standings.
Yeah, it's a big thing for Matt Taylor, and you know what? He had the unfortunate race at Phillip Island. I believe he was one of those cars involved in that first lap incident right away. So not much you can do when there is a car kind of flying through a slower corner like that. Thankfully, we haven't had any calamities here at Mid-Ohio that have taken out multiple cars. Even in an incident like the one with Michael O'Brien, he's still able to race in 7th place. No, it's not 2nd. No, it's not 3rd. But it is, it's okay. It's okay.
Oh.
Especially, oh no!
That's a car going off at China Beach, and I think straight down onto pit road for Robert Mikes. Heavy damage to the tail end of the 17. Let's go take a look at this. And I have a feeling this isn't going to be pretty. This is actually not even at China Beach. This is through Thunder Valley, and once more, just clipping the grass. And, well, the grass bites here on the iRacing service, Dylan.
Yeah, it does. Well, it makes sense. Look at that. So, basically, a physics lesson coming up. When you have the right side tires in that instance, having all of the grip being on the asphalt, you try to put on the brakes, all of the grip from those tires, all the mechanical grip, as we see a big wiggle right there. Oh, maybe a potential run. I'll cut off what I was saying for now.
Side by side, Taylor does look for it in the white car and gets it done as well. Can the over-under work for the 68 and get the run down? Sirois now takes advantage, 1.3 seconds clear. Taylor defends to the inside line, almost murders a couple of cones for good measure as well, but forces Razmath to the outside here through China Beach. Turn number 4, and Taylor holds on for now. There was already contact here before. I don't think either of these drivers, Dylan, want to go back to race control.
No, not at all, but you do want that position, and the laps are starting to wind down. We're only at around 18 and a half or so, less than that, to go in this race. So what I was saying, though, was when you do have one side of the tires on asphalt, the other side on grass, it's that change of friction, change of grip. You're basically glued to one part of the track, the other part of the track you're not glued, so it just spins you around to the part that you are glued on, and then that's called crashing.
And a couple of drivers have found that out the hard way. We're going to step aside for a few moments here live on RaceSpot.tv. Continued coverage of the -273 Grand Prix of Mid-Ohio right after this. Hello and welcome back to RaceSpot TV and Round 7 coverage of the -273 Grand Prix of Mid-Ohio, presented by Buttkicker. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Alongside for today's coverage is Dylan Coyle. And it's once more here on the road courses, Dylan, Sage Karam domination. But just as we come out of commercial break, Sage Karam has run off the track. The gap for the race lead is down to 4.3 seconds.
I just realized that as well. What in the world just happened? Oh my goodness, this is, now we have a race.
We have a race indeed. Is the pressure getting to Sage Karam? Already 4 victories out of 6 this season, and I guess we are going straight to the RaceSpot TV replay as we come out of commercial break. Let's go take a look at this and see if we can pick this up. It's Karam all grass killing one more driver. He is fortunate not to end up in the tire barrier, Dylan. Let's take a look at this one from the onboard look.
I mean, that's, oh man, see exactly what we were talking about. Just gets into the grass, tries to hit the brakes a little bit, but it just spins you right around. That is just what happens when you're basically glued to the track one side and it's just ice on the other side.
It's also that ground effect, I would guess, as well, because all of that suction you have to the ground gets disrupted as, you know, I guess maybe the car just changes in balance very slightly. Karam recovers. Now, 1:13.292. Once more, the fastest car out there on the track with a point to prove as well, because Karam doesn't like to make mistakes, Dylan. No race car driver does. He'll be out there now for the remaining 14 laps or so, trying to go even faster than his 1:13.017.
I know it's Sage Karam, but if there's one track where you do want to take it a little bit easy and not push it to the max, it might be Mid-Ohio. He was lucky to get away with that one without any damage, without getting into the tire barrier, because that could have been race over.
It really could have been. And for Karam, who's one position gained on the day, started on the outside of the front row, has controlled since then. He really made the move basically immediately, Dylan. It was down in through turn one, hasn't looked back since then.
Which race do you think he's had to race harder in, this one or the Indy 500?
It's a good question. I guess we'll get to ask him about that in a few moments' time. We'll turn our attention elsewhere in the pack, I think, for now. Aaron Morgan, makes the move on Alex Guyon on his recovery drive. At one point, Morgan was the last car on the lead lap outside of the top 20. Now almost back up to where he qualified on the edge of the top 10. That is determination. And that's the kind of consistency that wins you championships, because it's a long 18-race season and anything can happen. Here, though, is the battle for second, third, and fourth. David Sirra is clear of Matt Taylor and Mike Rasmussen, there, Dylan. 6 cents the gap between third and fourth.
Yeah, and we've had a great battle in this podium for pretty much the entire race, and it still is ongoing, even though it's not as close as it was right after the pit cycle, which, by the way, these cars are getting lighter, which means they're going to be a little more nimble and easier to drive. We might start to see some faster laps from the entirety of the field, even with the tires being as worn as they may be. By the way, we've hit 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow, so really scorching out here in the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course. By the way, we're just taking a look at some of the race results from this season. Of course, David Sirra, a rookie in this championship. He's had a torrid run of things. Best finishes have come on the road courses to date, but those ninth places, both at Watkins Glen and the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. This is the podium that he thought he should have got last time out at Phillip Island, and it was bad luck for him here. Bad luck for him, rather, in the land down under, Dylan. No such bad luck here today. He's been focused. He's been consistent. He's now in second spot.
Whenever you say the land down under, I always think of that song. But anyway.
Why do you think I say it?
Is that why?
I've got it stuck in my head as well, so I guess everyone who watches RaceSpottv and ESTV should have it stuck in their heads as well.
You're just infecting the music all into our heads. I don't know how I feel about that. But it's a good song. So thank you. Anyway, been some good racing here. And you know what? It's been a very, I was saying this to you in the commercial break. It has been a fairly average race, but it's always good to have one of these races throughout the course of the season, just to kind of give you that the barometer of where these races are in terms of passing, excitement, all of that. Sage Karam, well, he is now, I believe, the leader, or maybe this lap, the leader in all-time laps led at Mid-Ohio in the Retro Series. So, I mean, it's been a very non-Sage Karam-like race in terms of domination. We've had some great battles for the podium, some hard driving, some, incidents that have been racing incidents, which are fair to say. Dylan, there might be a move.
I'm sorry, Dylan. I regret to inform you that the impossible has just happened. Sage Karam has done a 112 at 982.
No. I knew you were going to say that.
He's picked up the pace, and he's really starting to find some momentum. Mike Rasmussen, 113.198, does show that you can find speed as the car burns its fuel here. 12 laps to go. It is official. Sage Karam is the driver to have led the most laps here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lionheart Retro Series history. He's also the only driver to have led a lap today. We are still, though, looking at this third step of the podium with a lot of intrigue, lots more intrigue if you look back, though, on the edge of the top 10. Here's Aaron Morgan chasing the 25 of Ariel Alanis.
Isn't Mid-Ohio such a beautiful looking track as well?
It is.
Always want to get out there.
It maybe might need, a bit of a touch of fresh paint here on the iRacing service. You look at something like Road Atlanta, which only a couple of months ago really got a spiffing update to 2021 standards, and really, I must say, love that course and the way it looks now. Mid-Ohio looks good, I'm sure the iRacing team can do better, and they're always improving past tracks as well. Who knows what the next one would be? I think everyone would love an updated Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Here we go, though. Morgan all over the tail end of this car, Dylan.
Yeah, he is right there. The pressure is being put on around the carousel. And you know what? Great driving from the men in front. Sage Karam, oh my goodness. Did Sage Karam just have another incident?
I think he's just about held on to that one, but the gap once more below 4 seconds. So let's spool up our replay machine and see if we can pick up what happened to the Dreyer and Reinbold driver. Here he comes down the main straight and in towards turn number 4. Let's jump on board. This might give us the better look with Karam. Of course, representing the purple and orange as well with the Koanda SimSport colors. Just a little bit deep under the brakes, and well, look at that car control, Dylan.
My goodness, I mean, that is just skill right there. A controlled slide is what you call that, and that takes some skill.
While we were watching that, good spot there, Dylan, to see. Oh, side by side, Aaron Morgan around the outside, in through turn number 5. We are going to have to take a look at that replay and pick up the full move because it was set up in through turn number 4. He completed it around the outside of turn number 5. Let's go take a look at it here, and we'll spool back even further and look at this one. Confidence personified from the 48 car, Dylan.
That is one of, if not the greatest overtake in this race so far. It's the confidence for me right there to get on the throttle and really stick into it.
And fair play to Alanis, defending that position as he's entitled to do so, but it's difficult getting that power down as the track just falls away from you. And wow, lots of confidence from Morgan, and no damage it would appear to his car despite the roller coaster of a ride he's been on so far this season. He's now back up into the top 10. Where he qualified, he's got a bit of work to do to try and close down Jean-Francois Matt in front of him. 3 seconds is the gap there, but you know what? I'm not going to count out the 48 car. Chris Fowler, puff of smoke. The 20 car. Mid-Ohio claims another victim, Dylan.
My goodness. I mean, we were talking about Sage going, this is not one of those tracks you want to push. And, I mean, he just spun it right around. You see that little bit of frustration there. You could tell he's trying to fishtail it back onto the circuit. Had to get out of the grass, though. And we're back to live pictures. Right now it's Karam, Syrah, and Taylor as your podium finishers right now, with Mike Razmas. Well, he is only around a second or so behind Taylor for that final podium position.
But those gaps really are increasing. This pace tracker that I have in front of me has picked up Aaron Morgan flying, already 2.5 seconds behind the car in front. Don't, I think, count out the 48 car making an impact, not just on Matt, but Chris Staples, who's had a pretty stellar run as well. Left-hand side of the screen, Dylan, let's show people the movers and shakers in today's action. It's been a bit more calm at the top since O'Brien's incident. He really is the biggest loser in terms of points here, from pole position down to 7th. You also have the likes of Ricky Harding, who had to serve a drive-through penalty. He's 8 positions down on the day in 16th spot. Caleb Benchy, retired early, 23rd position, 6 spots down on his qualifying position.
Yeah, only 17 on the lead lap, and you know what? Sage might have some lap traffic. And I'm not just saying 1 off, 2 off. I mean, Anzaldo, Hardin, and Malone, they're right now fighting for 15th spot. And if you look on the track map right now, as they come around the keyhole, I'm looking at a little bit delayed pictures right now. But they're right there.
Ooh, sorry. Mike Razmas, he's lost control. 2nd place in the championship. Here comes Chris Reagan to try and take advantage. How defensive does Razmas want to go? The car does look green, and he's going to squeeze the purple and silver. Confidence there from Reagan. He's up into 4th position, Dylan.
Wow, and Mike Razmas is going to try and push the issue and try and get that position back. Right now, the podium, it's pretty much set. Chris Reagan, he blocks off the inside, getting the best round he can possibly get, coming down into Thunder Valley. Fair play on him. He handled that very well, and Mike Razmas only lost a spot, but still has the potential to gain it right back.
The bigger problem is the 8 seconds that they've lost. These guys not, or rather for Mike Razmas, no chance now of fighting with the rest of the podium, and I think it might be somewhat secure for Karam, Sirois, and Taylor. 1, 2, and 3. 7 laps to go here in mid-Ohio. Let's go and take a look at what happened to Mike Razmas there, coming out of turn number 2 at the keyhole, and it's just getting impatient onto the power, trying to keep up with the cars in front of him, Dylan, just like we saw from Chris Fowler moments ago.
Yeah, that's just a little bit of excitement right there. You see the podium is right there. You're trying to get everything you possibly can. Thankfully for him, no damage. He'll have to try and get that position back. He might be able to do it here, but he's a little bit far back as they come down right around China Beach, up the hill where it's been a very dangerous spot. It's almost kind of, you're off camber where it's just such a weird track. It is such a weird track. I love it.
So many ups and downs, like you pointed out at the start of this broadcast. On board with Razmas as we come underneath the bridge. That's that pedestrian bridge that lets fans get into the infield. Now into the penultimate corner, setting up for the keyhole. Razmas almost out into the grass. Interesting lines from both of them. Not as tight to the inside late in this run as we saw from Karam during qualifying. Now Karam, by the way, has picked up his pace. 13:054 the last time around. 3/10 quicker than Sirois. It's just so consistent. It's just so quick from Karam out front. And with 6 laps to go, 5.1 seconds clear.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We should check out Sage Karam's view right now because it's not that pretty.
Oh, it's not. You got Ansaldo and Malone really duking it out on board with the driver Sage Karam here.
Oh, man. I don't find this comfortable for anyone.
Gap's already down to 4.9 seconds. Continues to drop. You have to be patient here. Down through the S's. You cannot get the move done here. Karam might have to wait until the start-finish line to get on past these cars. Is Malone going to compromise? No, he's not. He's going to stand firm. And Karam, 4.7 seconds now. The gap back to Sirois. It will be 5 laps to go at the line here. Karam needs to get by. He needs to get by fast, Dylan.
Yeah, he does. Oh, man, he almost came right down to the gearbox. He gets by here. He still has some more traffic to work around. Only 2 more drivers, though. He'll potentially get the draft, or maybe there will be a bit of fair play here. Yes, absolutely going to be some fair play. And let him go around the inside on the keyhole. You see that big speed difference. Oh, no. Karam almost just lost control again.
Oh, and look at Malone taking full advantage. Opportunistic from the 34. And I think we have to go take a look at that one there, Dylan.
Oh, man, that was gorgeous. That, we've seen some great overtakes in this race, and you know what? Again, fair play. Just cuts him off right there. That could have been disastrous if it was an inch long.
Oh, no!
I heard a spin. Trevor Malone again.
And it's as we come back to the live coverage. Oh, he almost gets clipped. That's Sirois. That's Taylor. That's second and third. Oh, there's only 0.8 of a second between those two now, Dylan. It's all heating up. 4 laps to go next time around.
Trevor Malone was about to say something and decided against it in the in-race radio. Oh my goodness, we'll catch a replay right here. He just spun. That was just all himself and then backed himself into the wall. My goodness, David Sirois. That was some great driving to avoid any bit of that incident. Oh,
Dylan,
my goodness.
You've noticed it as well. You've noticed it as well. There's damage to Sirois. He's down on pit road. Heartbreak full of One Motorsports.
I don't know if it's damage. Is it fuel?
I can't think it's fuel with 4 laps to go. It's got to be something else. Let's see how long he's stationary in pit road. But heartbreak for the 99 car. It's a splash and dash. You are right.
Oh my goodness. I have no idea. Will this mean that other drivers have fuel issues?
How long was Sirois out there on track? I had not been tracking the stint length there, Dylan, but boy, oh boy. Things now take a drastic swing with just 4 laps to go.
The most comfortable driver is Sage Karam because he came in last.
Well, now we've got a battle for the 3rd and final step on the podium. It's Reagan and Razmas. Razmas might still have this one. 2nd place in the championship. He needs to recover, Dylan. He cannot afford to be too patient here. They're not going to have too much time left to go.
My goodness. Yeah, there's not too much time left, but there's always time for a little bit of stamp licking and sending it.
Break out your inner Daniel Ricciardo, I guess. This is not necessarily the track where you can do that, and the writing on the side of Rasmus's car says knock yourself out. Don't think that's what you want to do here, Dylan. 3 laps to go.
That's blasphemy. You can do it anywhere you want to.
Well,
The ideology of a honey badger.
true honey badger spirit there. Excuse me. I've just noticed some damage on the front of Reagan's car. I'm not sure if we're going to get a good look at it from any of these onboard angles that I would love to try and pick it up here. But Dylan,
Right wing.
yeah, look at that one. It is very much off color, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly that. You can see some scrapes and some off coloring here, but going into China Beach, Mike Rasmus goes around the outside. He's going to have to contend with maybe an over-under here. Is he able to get it done? No, did not get the throttle, but it looks like Chris Reagan gets a little bit loose over the hill. They hold position, maybe a 10th gained.
Sirrah then in 7th position from a best finish in his Lionheart retro career, a very fledgling career. Only here in 2021 have we seen him in action. 9th place is his best finish. He will not be thrilled with 7th on the day. His teammate gets passed by Aaron Morgan, who's now up into 9th and looking to try and get past Chris Staples as well. It is 2 laps ago. Sage Karam is 7.5 seconds clear of Matt Taylor. Michael O'Brien down onto pit road.
Wow. I wonder. I just wonder, why are these drivers having to come down to the pit road? I mean, does it have to do with fuel saving?
You know what I think it might be, Dylan? It's not fuel saving per se, but these were cars that were running in line in the first stint of the race, so they would have been using a little bit less fuel.
Wow.
Now it is totally different in clean air, just that little bit more ability to push. I wonder if that's what's happening down in towards China Beach, though. It's going to be the white flag in the air for Sage Karam as he comes in towards the final couple of corners. One more lap for Mike Rasmus to get on to the podium here today.
And they have Trevor Malone as a form of traffic. Maybe he'll use him as a pick to try and get around Chris Reagan. That's Mike Rasmus trying to do just that. You know, they're so close right now, and with the white flag being out, I think we'll see a move done, maybe into the key. Oh my goodness, that is bold to get around the lap traffic in Malone. Malone says, okay, I don't want any bit of this, and lets him go, but that might have saved a potential move into the keyhole.
Richie Hearn down on pit road as well. It is heartbreak for the 2nd time in consecutive races then from Richie Hearn. He should probably drop out of the top 10 based on the pit road delta time. Oh, it is a shame. It is white flag in the air, though. Still a battle for 3rd position, and we'll watch them as they come down this back straightaway. But it is Sage Karam domination once more here in the Lionheart Retro Series. No pole position, no worries. Here comes the move, though. Rasmus to the outside in the white 68 car. There's almost contact wheel to wheel. Rasmus into 3rd. Can he get that car slowed down in time? Yes, he does. And beautifully done, just like you said, Dylan. Out front, though, here comes Sage Karam. 5 wins in 7 races. He wants a Lionheart championship. He wants it this year. Karam wins the -273 Grand Prix of Mid-Ohio, presented by Buttkicker. And as we head back to the Brickyard in 3 weeks' time, he will look to do what he did a couple of weeks ago and do one better, a career best at the Brickyard. Matt Taylor for 2nd, and it's Mike Rasmus that will hold on to 3rd because, like you said, Dylan, Reagan off the road.
Aaron Morgan is upset about something on the radio, saying, you've got to give me room. What happened there?
That's with Chris Staples there for the 96 car. So, that's not what... Oh, the 96 car is off at Thunder Valley as well. Heartbreak for him. He will drop out of the top 10. Aaron Morgan will scoop the next position. Oh, and there's more contact then, Dylan.
He almost gets another driver collected in that just when he bounced back onto the track. Oh my goodness, couldn't quite see who that was, but I mean, that's almost like sweet revenge by himself if you're Morgan. Yeah, that was a really bad pre-join onto the track.
What a race, though. What a race, and it had it all. It was not necessarily wheel-to-wheel all the time, but at this rate, Dylan, 5 out of 7 victories on the season. Can anyone stop Sage Karam as he makes his way to being a Lionheart champion in 2021?
Sage Karam can stop himself.
Don't say stuff like that. You're trying to put the RaceSpot TV commentator's curse down on him.
Well, I mean, okay, let me put this. His IndyCar team can stop him from winning the Retro Series chip. Oh, a spin right there. Love that. If that makes sense.
I know what you're saying, but now he's in HyperX victory lane. He is celebrating. He won't worry about that for the time being. Fresh off a career best 7th in the Indianapolis 500. The most winning driver in Lionheart Retro Series continues his momentum. You know what? History might be on the cards. He was unable to try and make it 4 wins in a row. Look at those donuts, perfectly executed.
Nope.
He's been getting some practice there. Just the slightest of touches, Dylan. He's gotten away with that. Still going out there on the main straightaway.
You see, I was really impressed with the donuts. I was saying, how is he not hitting the wall? And then he just slams the wall.
Well, they're still going on now. I guess he had enough fuel. Engine blows. That will be the end of the celebrations here from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Let's go and take a look at our race results. Race control was quite busy during that one, so I don't think we will be seeing too many changes after 56 laps of action. Karam wins by 8.7 seconds, and Sage Karam domination, very much the story of 2021 and the Lionheart Retro Series. Matt Taylor, who had a very disappointing time last time at Phillip Island, recovers here today to second. He'll be thrilled, making inroads in his championship hunt. Mike Rasmussen third with a wonderful move in the closing stages around Chris Reagan, who'll be disappointed to not hold on to that third place finish. David Sirois, late race misery for him as he had to come down onto pit road, does make his way back up into the top 5. First ever top 5 for him in Lionheart Retro Series competition. He will be thrilled with that outcome. Richie Hearn 6th, Michael O'Brien in 7th. So late race pit stops, not really making too much of an impact for those cars. Morgan recovers to 8th. Great drive there from a driver very strong in 2021. Matt in 9th, Alanis on the edge of the top 10, and will work through a relatively small grid here today. Alex Guyon, Chris Staples, Craig Forsyth, and Chris Fowler, the remaining 4 cars on the lead lap, with Ricky Harding, George Anzaldo, and Trevor Malone all finishing 1 lap down. Paul Jenkins in the 35 car finishes in 18th, 7 laps down. He had a few issues and did not take the checkered flag. Robert Mikes, Cody Wenzen, 19th and 20th. Lanini, Young, Benchy, Corley, and Graf, they didn't make it very far into this race. Look at that fastest lap, though, Dylan. 1:12.593. 3/10 quicker on the final lap of the race from the race winner, Sage Karam.
Unbelievable. I mean, Sage Karam just likes to impress, I think, everybody watching, but I wonder how much he impresses himself with some of these performances.
Well, I tell you what, we have the opportunity, I think, to go down and take talk not just with him in the HyperX victory lane, but so many more drivers in our post-race show. Those were the Carnox race results. Let's make our way over then into the HyperX post-race show, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like legendary ultra-comfortable cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows that we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com, and don't forget to use the promo code Lionheart15, that's LIONHRT15, for 15% off all orders. I tell you what, I think he is already ready to go, fresh off a career best 7th in the Indianapolis 500. Victory once more in the Lionheart Retro Series in 2021 for Sage Karam. Sage, you started on the outside of the front row, made your way past in through turn number 1, and controlled that 56-lap race.
Yeah, it was a pretty good race. It was a tricky track, you know, the actual setup of the car and everything around this place made it pretty difficult to drive. I actually had a spin there about midway through the race, so yeah, it definitely wasn't easy. You know, I had to save some fuel, and you know, I wasn't happy with my qualifying lap. I screwed up on my first one, so only had 3 flyers, and you know, with this car it just gets faster every lap, so had to start outside row 1, got the jump, but then you know, went into fuel conservation and went from there. And then, you know, when I figured I was good on fuel, I turned the wick up, and of course then I spun right away. So racing's a tricky thing, that's for sure.
Well, and we saw that. I mean, the gap came down. Fastest lap on that final lap, though, Sage, a 1:12.593. Given what you had earlier in the race with those spins, was there ever any doubt about pushing that hard on the final lap when you might have had a bit more issues if you had some sort of an incident on the final lap?
Yeah, I don't know. This car obviously gets faster as it goes, and when the fuel load gets a bit lighter, it really speeds up. So I knew like the last 2-3 laps of the race were going to be my fastest laps. So I always go for it. I definitely want to solidify the fastest lap of the race. I know everyone else is going to speed up, so I don't like to, just drive kind of softly around the place, and I like to attack it. And I didn't want to change anything. I was pushing for about 6 or 7 laps before that, so I figure when you start changing stuff, whether you're going from fuel saving or going to fuel saving, that's usually when you like screw up some things. So I just was in a rhythm and just driving, and I was fortunate enough to get like a clean lap there at the end and put up a pretty decent lap.
What was the month of May like for you, Sage? I mean, at the start of practice in the real world, rolled off very quick. Qualifying was a struggle, had to be part of that last row shootout, and then the race itself, working your way up to a career best, a 7th place finish, kind of flew under the radar because, of course, history being made and so many fans in attendance as well. Well beyond, if you ask me, the 135,000 that was quoted. How great was it to be out there once more at the Brickyard and to have that sort of success?
Yeah, I mean, it was spectacular. Obviously to have fans back was really awesome. Last year we didn't have them, so to have that vibe and energy back was really, really cool. So was happy for that, and I was just happy to have a strong month. We rolled off the truck and we're pretty quick right away. We're 4th in first practice, and was top 10 in a couple other practices, even on carb days. So we knew we just had to get the car in the show. Qualifying is not our strong suit there, so had to go through the bumping, like you said, and fortunate enough to get through that. And I knew I had a good race car, so I just long race. I just had to keep my head and not make mistakes, and that's what we did. The crew did a great job in pit road and made some spots up there, made some spots up in a nice timely yellow, and I just kept my head and let everybody else make mistakes, and it was really cool to finish 7th at the Speedway. It was my best finish of my career there. So, I was really, really excited. It's cool that, we're a one-car team, one-off effort, and we were, really taking the fight to the big teams.
And hopefully we see you back out there in the real world as well. 5 wins out of 7 so far in this season so far. It's looking good for you to become a Lionheart champion this year, Sage. Good luck for the rest of the month of June. There's some interesting IndyCar and Retro Series races coming up. We'll see you in action here on racespottv.
Yep, thanks, guys.
So that is Sage Karam, winner once more here in the Lionheart Retro Series, the most winning driver in competition history. Let's bring in Matt Taylor in the 8 car. He worked his way up to 2nd, and he's standing by with Dylan Coyle.
Yes, we are here with Matt Taylor. Matt, that was an intense race. What was the most pivotal moment for you to get this 2nd place finish?
It has to be that entire first stint. I was doing everything I could to save fuel. I was pushing the clutch in. I was going to do everything I could to try and stretch that extra lap so I wouldn't have to save in the 2nd stint. And I came out behind those 4 cars in front of me, having to give up time, and luckily there was a mistake in there which disposed of 2 of them, and then Mike made a mistake because I think he would have been able to hold me off pretty well with David pushing for another stop, and he made a mistake. I got around, and then I just tried to stay clean from there.
Now, you feel like after a race from Phillip Island 3 weeks ago, it feels like it was forever ago, which it was. You come back here, you have a good run. What does that mean for your confidence the rest of the way?
It's good. Stuff happens in these races, not always in your own control. So I just had to try and do what I could. And if you get wrecked from somebody else's mistake, you can be mad at it for a little bit or frustrated, but you got to get ready for the next one. I know my pace is good to finish on the podium. I don't have anything for Sage, but I will certainly take 2nd to his driving. That was incredible, saving that fuel with that pace.
Well, it was pretty exciting seeing all the fighting going on. What was your view of some of the elbows out moments that were happening within the top 4 or 5?
You know, after that pit stop, they were packed so tightly together. Michael he couldn't make that 28 laps, so he was on ultra fuel save. So you kind of had 2 guys up front that weren't going to make it to the end with 2 guys behind them that could. And I just kind of held back a little bit to let them sort it out. And luckily I was able to avoid that incident in the middle there. And once there was some separation, I was able to go to work and try to push and put some pressure on.
Well, Matt, a fantastic result for you. Anyone you'd like to thank for it?
I just thank Lionheart for putting this stuff on. It's a great league. And this car is so much fun to drive. Doesn't matter what track we run at. The series is fantastic.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Matt. Congratulations once again.
Thank you, guys.
Well, Matt Taylor, always an interesting one to talk to. He's got a lot of good insight. And obviously, when we do have some more drivers to talk to, it comes to Mike Rasmus, one of the other competitors in this championship battle, Arjuna.
Second place in the championship coming into this one. He had to fight for that third place finish. He's now standing by with Dylan Coyle.
Yes, we are with Mike Rasmus. And Mike, you've moved into, well, you haven't moved, you're staying in second place, but the gap has extended a little bit from Sage Karam to yourself. Only 28 points, though. You think you have what it takes to compete with him for the rest of the season?
Well, he's always in a league of his own, so you know, I always feel like I'm racing with pretty much everyone else in the field. So if I can stay in the top 3 or 5 for this season, I'll be pretty happy about that. Yeah, Sage just, you know, drives away from us every race, so I can never really compare myself to him.
How are the nerves for the majority of that race? Because it felt like you guys could never get yourselves separated from each other.
Oh man, yeah, I think we were all white knuckling it. We had that like truly train going with Michael, and you know he was really fast, but you know with the draft and everything, it was easy for everyone to keep up, and it was just kind of like, you know, waiting for someone to make a mistake, or you know, I was saving fuel pretty much the whole race as well, so I didn't want to overdrive and lose that. So yeah, it was really intense and it was really fun. I mean, everyone really fast, and you know.
I mean, Mid-Ohio was such a difficult circuit to get right. For you, what do you feel like the most intense zone of that track has got to be?
Probably any of the hills and the
so the whole track.
And, yeah, pretty much coming over the crests and everything, trying to keep the rear tire, trying to keep all the tires on the ground and pointing in the right direction. Once the tires heat up and everybody's going as hard as they can, it really takes a lot of concentration to do.
Awesome. So 3 weeks until the Indy 250. You're going to be doing some practice for that?
Oh, for sure, yeah. That's a fun race, always been.
What are you hoping from your result there?
Oh, I don't know. I think I finished third there last year, so definitely going for third or better this time.
Awesome. Well, anyone you'd like to thank for this podium finish, Mike?
Yeah, just everyone at Lionheart, George and Minus 273, Mark Cohn, Graphics Esports, and you guys for always putting on such a great broadcast.
Well, we appreciate that very much. Congratulations once again, Mike.
Thanks.
Of course. Well, Arjuna, it went from, in my opinion, an average race to a fantastic race by the end of it.
Oh, it was hectic at the very end, and I can't wait till 3 weeks from today when we go to the Brickyard and for the Indy 250. 3 wide, 4 wide finishes, they are the norm. And after that, we'll actually head back to the road courses, Dylan. Sonoma, wine country. I don't think too many drivers will be partaking in the wine before the race. I'm sure plenty of it afterwards, though.
Well, at least you'd hope that, even if it's the virtual world. But you know what? It's going to be exciting. Sonoma is one of those tracks that you never exactly know what you're going to get. So many great battles in IndyCar's season finales over the years. So excited to see what they do there. But, I mean, the big one, the Indy 250. I cannot wait for that. We have to really wait 3 weeks, Arjuna.
We do. It's going to be a long wait here in the month of June. And in fact, you look throughout the schedule, basically only 2 races per month throughout the rest of 2021. 18 races from March to December on the road to Auto Club and to crown a Lionheart Retro Series champion. Defending champion Ryan Otis has made his way to the Lionheart IndyCar Series. He'll be making some more guest appearances, I'm sure, at some of the road courses, but not a championship defense. Time to wrap up then here live on racespottv. Before we go, let's thank the partners of the Lionheart Racing Series. The SimXperience AccuForce Pro V2 is the professional simulation racing steering system. The key to its incredible realism is the groundbreaking direct drive motor control system, providing a driving experience that's second only to the real thing. For more information on the entire SimXperience ecosystem, visit simexperience.com. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows that we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com, and don't forget to use the promo code Lionheart15, that's LIONHRT15, for 15% off all orders. For sim racers, the Buttkicker Gamer 2 or Simulation Kit has the missing driver-to-car connection, bringing more realism to your sessions. By accurately responding to in-game audio, you can feel the track like never before, providing increased vehicle handling and faster lap times. Are you ready for the most immersive experience in sim racing? Well, for more information, visit thebuttkicker.com, and don't forget to use the promo code LION2021 for 20% off all orders. Minus 273 is the premier name in karting gloves. Their industry-leading gloves are super lightweight and durable, made of a breathable poly spandex. Whether you're a kart or a sim racer, Minus 273 gives you the control to reach victory lane. For more information on Minus 273's full line of gloves and apparel, visit minus273.biz, and don't forget to use the promo code Minus273LHRS15 for 15% off all orders. Looking for entertaining sim racing content? Look no further than the DMLC Racing channel. Follow former Lionheart Retro Series Driver of the Year Mark Cohn's racing escapades as he battles for wins and avoids wrecks with cat-like reflexes, all while providing commentary sure to make you laugh, cry, or both. Follow along by subscribing to the DMLC Racing channel on YouTube and like his Facebook page at the DMLC Racing channel. To learn more about the Lionheart Racing Series and all 3 competitions that it runs and the names up on your screen, visit lionheartracingseries.com. You can also join the series Discord to stay up to date with the latest day-to-day activity in the virtual paddock. It is time to say goodbye then here live on racespottv, and a reminder that there's so much more esports action that you can watch. Follow Lionheart across Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for all your Lionheart social media updates, while ESTV has you covered for all your esports action. If you're not already subscribed to us on racespottv, make sure you hit the red button and the bell next to it to get notified every single time we go live with the great sim racing series that we get to cover. We will be off for a couple of weeks' time in the Lionheart Retro Series. Next week is actually an off week for the Lionheart competition in entirety. However, live on Tuesday night, you can join us for the Thumbs Up Canter Down 250, a charity race that will break out these Lotus 79s on the fearsome Daytona Oval. Super Speedway racing at its finest, all for charity. Until then, and until June 24th for the Indy 250 and the second Triple Crown event of the season, for Dylan Coyle, for racespottv, for myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thank you for tuning in to this race, and we'll see you in 3 weeks for crazy action from the Brickyard.